Talofa lava, this is Pacific Waves from RNZ Pacific. I'm Susana Suisuki. Coming up.
This year we're doing a mix of Fijian, Tongan and also Samoan.
Christchurch school students polish up their performances for Canterbury Polyfest. Also, Pacific governments fight health issues by taxing sugar and fatty foods. And
I feel like my family is with me in this competition.
South Auckland hosts the annual Siva Afi Festival. Te Aratai College, along with 26 other schools, are gearing up for Canterbury Polyfest on Saturday at Hagley Park in Christchurch, New Zealand. The school has teamed up with Maireho High School for their performance, bringing about 80 students to the event. Caleb Fotheringham visited Te Aratai College on one of their last practices before the big day.
Te Aratai College students are performing their Polyfest routine in a packed-out school auditorium in front of family and friends. It's one of the last opportunities students have to nail their performance. Te Aratai College principal Maria Le Malir says being from Canterbury, her students are not as exposed to their Pacific cultures compared to those in Auckland and Wellington.
So we're only a small amount of our population here in Christchurch, but a number of our young people are second or third generation Pasifika peoples, and so it's really an awesome opportunity for them to showcase their language, culture and identity.
Ms. Le Malir has been helping out at Polyfest since 2003. She's seen it grow from about 8 schools to 27 this year.
It's not competitive, so it's more a celebration of culture. I know lots of our students want it to be competitive, however we're more about celebrating language, culture and identity in a South Island context.
Year 13 student Ethan Lasua Cook is Te Aratai's Samoan lead performer, taking on the role as the mania, traditionally seen as the chief's son.
My whole family's going to be there, so, it's quite an emotional moment for me, it's just emotional, I'm not going to lie.
Ethan says work began on the 15-minute set in early January.
We've got to sacrifice some other things to do Polyfest, weekends and stuff, after school, sports and stuff going on, but, we had to sacrifice some things to do Polyfest.
It's worth it?
Yeah, it definitely is worth it, everyone coming together, representing the school, representing their families and stuff. It's just a blessing, yeah. Head
girl Dorme Lofiso says it's a blessing to be on stage with her brothers and sisters showcasing their cultures.
This is our first year doing different cultures because with the Polyfest that we did the year before, we only do the Samoan culture, but this year we're doing a mix of Fijian, Tongan and also Samoan. So getting the audience to get that idea of us doing everything in unity.
Dorme says participating in Polyfest is paying homage to her ahinga.
For me it's very special. I can say grateful because I'm getting this opportunity not to only express myself but my parents and my family.
Principal Le Malir says at the end of Polyfest students come out more disciplined and engaged with school.
My kaupapa or challenge for my kids is that if you can spend copious amounts of time practicing, you can still do the same with your schoolwork and with your sport and with your relationships with friends and family.
Gates open tomorrow morning at Hagley Park. Te Aratai College and Maireho High School are 17th on the performance list.
Several Pacific Island governments have brought in taxes on a variety of processed foods, particularly products that are high in salt, sugar and fat. This is part of their measures to reduce the incidence of non-communicable diseases that could be preventable. Andrea Teng from Otago University's Department of Public Health has studied the sugary drinks tax in Tonga and has broader research coming up. She spoke to Catherine Ryan this week.
Well, this is a recommendation by the World Health Organization that we use things like fiscal policies, we use things like excise taxes, as we've done on alcohol and tobacco, and also things like subsidies, removing import tariffs or consumption tax, for example, as a way of improving our food environment. So we know we've got a huge problem globally in terms of our food environment with, increasing rates of chronic diseases like diabetes and cancer and tooth decay as well.
So was Tonga first, and is it furthest ahead in imposing these taxes?
Well, in terms of, we've looked previously at sugary drinks taxes, which are widely used around the world, so sort of over 100 countries have sugary drinks taxes. We were really interested in our latest piece of work at looking what food taxes other than drinks taxes that had been used in the Pacific. And there's 5 countries there that had introduced those. Tonga was one of them. I think the earliest one in the Pacific was French Polynesia in 2001, brought in excise on a selection of less healthy foods.
Give us an indication of the regime that's been introduced, if you would. How significant are these taxes in pushing up price?
The WHO would recommend around a 20% tax, so 20% of the price would be a tax level that's going to be effective and send enough of a price signal so that people's habits might change and they might choose healthier options. So many of these taxes are likely up around that level. So, for example, in Tonga, their highest level of tax is around $3.40 New Zealand dollars on things like lollies and sweets, and that's per kg. 3/4 of the Pacific countries in our region have a tax on sugary drinks, and then 5 of them, French Polynesia, Vanuatu, Tonga, Samoa and New Caledonia, have taxes on much broader range of foods.
The question is, has there been a measurable impact? How did you go about assessing that?
Yeah, so we've looked at the sugary drinks tax in Tonga. We had data from their imports, so we could see most of their drinks imported into Tonga, and we could look at those trends over time. And there's a very, a direct time point in 2013 when that first tax came in, and we can see a change in the trend, so that there was less those drinks were imported than what we would expect otherwise, and that happened in each time that they put that tax up. So the sugary drinks imports decreased in Tonga, and then we saw, on the other hand, the water bottling and manufacturing increased at the same time. On our evaluations in Tonga, we did the sugary drinks first a few years back, and now we're going to look at the impact of the food taxes and the subsidies, actually, that the import tariff subsidies and the sugar consumption tax off fruit as well. So we'll look at those impacts on what happens to their food prices, what happens to the level of imports on those products and other products, and then what happens to people's expenditure as well.
The Siva Afi, or Samoan fire knife dancing, is being celebrated in Aotearoa. Dozens of competitors from across the Pacific gathered in Auckland for the annual Siva Afi Festival. The 2-day event included open women's, open men's, junior and intermediate competitions. Tiana Haxton was in Mangere for the fiery, action-packed show.
The heat was on as young fire dancers took to the stage, their hearts ablaze for their Samoan heritage. Their eyes lit up as sparks flew through the air as they spun, giving their all to their performances. In the judges' corner, the 5-time world champion Mikaele Oloa looked on with pride, impressed with the younger generation's fiery talents.
They have a lot of potential out here. They're doing great. I see that Samoan warrior spirit. I'm excited to see what they got going on. The competitions is the most important because that kind of sets their standard with themselves. And every time they just keep building upon it.
The Wahine Toa Afi competition was up first. Hawaiian-based Alia Eva dominated the open women's category, gracefully accepting first place. The 22-year-old grew up dancing with her family in the Vaimatina troupe. She says performing with her family's support is very special.
I feel very blessed to be able to achieve this. I'm grateful because I'm here with my family, and it makes me feel proud because I feel like my family is with me in this competition.
An open men's category was introduced this year for the very first time. The Masters of the Flames section saw licks of fire roaring across the stage as 7 competitors battled for the winner's spot. Justice Uepa, who demonstrated precision, power and passion in his performance, emerged victorious. Introduced to fire knife dancing at age 6, Uepa was genuinely surprised by his win, saying he was just happy to be here.
For me, the main reason why I was attending was to just be amongst the community, be amongst all that energy and just soak up everything, teach, learn, overall experience what it's like being there, and then just to compete was a bonus to me.
The Siva Afi Festival is only 4 years old, born out of a workshop for interested dancers in Aotearoa who needed a space to showcase their skills. The festival's founder and director, Amo Ieriko, looks forward to seeing the event grow even bigger in coming years.
It started off in that sense, just to create an environment where people could just showcase, celebrate, and in a competition, because competition always grows the talent. Kapa haka has proven that in New Zealand.
He says events like Te Matatini have grown the calibre of kapa haka in Aotearoa. He believes the Siva Afi festival will do the same for traditional fire knife dancing.
And we now turn to our weekly Pasifika Sipoti or Pacific Sports Preview. Our senior sports journalist Elias Atora joins me to chat about the upcoming games, starting off with the Super Rugby Pacific competition. Bula Elias, big games this weekend for the Drua and Moana Pasifika again. How are they shaping up and what do the teams need to do?
Yes, certainly interesting weekend for both Moana Pasifika and the Drua. With round 4 of the 2024 Super Rugby competition. For Moana Pasifika, their head coach, Whalongo Tana Umanga, will be, of course, getting into his 50th match as coach in the Super Rugby competition. And Moana playing in Perth against the Western Force on Saturday night. Umanga says that the Force will be a tough team to beat at home, but he is silently confident that the lineup that he has named would be able to, surprise the Force and probably come out with a win and added celebration for him as well. He has named Teko Pekepu and Christian Leliefano in the starting lineup, both experienced players, in the understanding that they would be able to help the team in containing the Force, and of course hoping that they can get a win, a second win in the competition in 2024. The Drua have made several changes to the side that defeated the Crusaders in Lautoka last weekend. It was a great game, but Coach Mick Burns said that is behind them, and they now look forward to playing the Chiefs in Hamilton on Saturday afternoon. Of course, the Chiefs will be fighting to defend their home ground and also record a second win in the season, having defeated the Crusaders in their opening run, but then dropping games after that. So for both teams, they would have to play 80 minutes consistently. Start well, consistent throughout the game, and finish strongly. And one of the key issues that both Talumanga and Mick Burns have stated for both their teams is to cut down on basic mistakes, the drop passes, the knock-ons in contact areas, and this will have to be something that both teams need to look at seriously and improve on if they are going to hope to win matches this weekend. Moana Pasifika and the Drua both getting into good games, strong games, expected to be fiery, and they are both aiming to win matches this weekend.
Definitely going to be fiery. Just looking over to the region where the OFC Women's Club Championship continues in Honiara, what is the update from there?
Well, interesting games on Thursday, and of course getting into the weekend's matches with closely contested games. This weekend, Hekari United from Papua New Guinea looking for another win against Avatiu from the Cook Islands. Henderson Eels from the Solomons taking on Tafea. Lambasa Football looking to try and see if they can defeat the defending champions, Academy Feminine from New Caledonia. And Auckland United also will be eyeing a good win over Veitonga from Tonga, all vying to win matches so that they can get into the final four. Interestingly, Fiji's Lambasa managed to get a win over Veitonga from Tonga, and Veitonga from Tonga looks like will be heading home and not going into the final stages of the game. So interesting, exciting games in store this weekend in Honiara, and will be interesting to see if first-timers, Auckland United, will be able to get into the top four at the end of the day on Saturday.
And just to wrap up our Talanoa, are there updates from other events we can look forward to this weekend?
The Fiji KVT Silk Tails Rugby League side looking forward to a win against South Sydney Rabbitohs in Churchill Park in Lautoka. That happening on Saturday. And NRL, National Rugby League matches this weekend across Australia with the Raiders taking on the Tigers, the Panthers against the Eels, Dragons against the Dolphins. Interesting to see how our Pasifika players are doing in the competition up there. In the Cook Islands, of course, Rugby League and Touch Rugby are the main ones that are happening this weekend. With the game scheduled for Saturday, there have been some very interesting and exciting competition in both those matches. The Super Rugby Under-20s competition also kicks off in Taupo this weekend with the Chiefs taking on the New Zealand Barbarians, Moana Pasifika against the Blues, the Hurricanes against the Fijian Drua, the Highlanders against the Crusaders. And of course, the women's Super W women's competition also kicking off with the Fijian Drua defending their Super W title. They had won it first in 2020, defended it in 2023, and on Saturday they will be meeting the Reds in Brisbane. Waratahs and the Brumbies, and the Western Force and the Rebels, the other games in the Super W rugby competition that kicks off this weekend. Interesting weekend for a lot of sports, and hopefully we will be able to get all the updates over the weekend for everyone in the new week.
That's Pacific Waves for today. To listen back, head over to rnzi.com/programs. We're also on Spotify, Apple and iHeartRadio. From myself and the RNZ Pacific team, so far, so far.